Hey, howdy, hey folks, it is Mrs. Johnson with the Agro Wisdom Channel. We are doing FFA Lullabies. We're still on Cattle Country, Peter French by Giles French, who again is still not related. We just read about the murder of Dr. Glenn and the marriage of Dr. Glenn's daughter to Peter French. So we haven't even gotten to Peter French and all his crazy stuff, because I'm pretty sure he dies. And I'm invested now. I'm invested because now somebody's died. Now we've gotten to the murder mystery part. Well, it's not a mystery, but we've gotten to what happens next, and I'm pretty excited about it. So, I am on page 107 in my book. We are talking The Law and Herman Miller this time. So, let's do this. The trial of Herman Miller for the first-degree murder of Dr. Hugh Glenn was held late in June 1883 in Colusa, with Jackson Hatch, one-time employer of Miller, as attorney for his defense. Hatch was adept at using the evidence and improvising innuendo to impress the jury. Mr. Hatch saw to it that Mrs. Poston, also known as Mrs. C.B. Dyer, had a prominent place in the trial. Dr. Glenn had been disappointed in Miller's assumption of a moral attitude regarding the check shaving, without considering that it was Miller who had to face the anger of the men. Miller did protest and was actually fired on the complaint of Mrs. Poston that Miller had not discounted enough. J.C. Jones, who succeeded Miller, testified that $2,700 had been transferred to Mrs. Poston to aid her in the discounting of checks. The prosecution argued that Miller had not denied that he shot and killed Glenn and that he was guilty of murder. Jackson Hatch, in his turn, recited threats Glenn had made on the life of Miller because of the differences with Mrs. Postman. The jury disagreed, standing 8-4 for murder in the second degree. After 3 days, the judge finally discharged them. Jackson Hatch had done his job well. The second trial was held in October, but without Jackson Hatch, and on the 25th, Herman Miller was found guilty of the murder in the first degree, with punishment fixed at imprisonment for life. He entered Folsom Prison on October 30th, 1883, and remained there until December 9, 1890, when his sentence was commuted to 15 years by Governor Robert W. Waterman because of the evidence of the trial. On January 3rd, 1891, Miller was discharged, but Herman Miller had put an end to the glory of the Glens, a glory that had lasted 16 years. Shortly after the first trial of Miller, Carrie B. Poston filed a claim against the Glenn estate for $6,437.65 to shock the administrator, S.E. Wilson, in the court. However, the following week she withdrew the claim and stepped out of the picture forever. She, too, played an important part in hastening the disintegration of the Glenn family. The death of Dr. Glenn made a difference in the management of the P Ranch as well as the conduct of affairs at Jinsinko. Creditors did not think Wilson was the right man for the job of settling the huge estate, which consisted of ranches in 3 states, thousands of cattle, as well as an expensive family to support and much indebtedness. N.D. Rideout of the Butte County Bank itself was one of the major creditors, replaced Wilson April 2nd, 1885, managing the property until his death. F.C. Lusk, an attorney of Chico, who often represented the bank, then took over and served until all the debts were paid. Lusk was a small, grotesque man who made something of record at handling affairs of large companies. A record of cattle sold shows that French marketed more stock than usual during the first years after Glenn's death. in an apparent effort to pay off some of the more pressing debts and reduce the interest charges. If French were to have received a third of the increase, he would soon have been getting a third of the proceeds of the sales, at least in 4 years. This was not the case. He never did get a third. One might wonder why French stayed under such circumstances. He was the competent member of the partnership where cow management was concerned. He knew cows and he knew the range in the Blitzen Valley. He could have borrowed the money to buy this bread if Glenn had been willing to sell, which he wasn't. Then, after Glenn's death, creditors would not sell the most profitable and only solvent part of the assets. The reason Peter French stayed on cannot be found in financial considerations, only in spiritual. These reasons were loyalty and ambition. In Oregon, on the P Ranch, French was akin to royalty. He had power and position. And the history of man is that he will suffer almost anything for these. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, that is the end of this chapter. So we're gonna say goodnight. I hope my FFA babies are asleep and taking care of themselves, and I hope they're enjoying the reading. Without further ado, I'm gonna jump to the next chapter instead of going to bed. So maybe you'll join me. Thank you. Bye.